Hello and welcome to another Bodgit and Leggit video. Now we have a 2014 Kia Sportage 1.7 diesel and we are going to be doing back pads and discs and front pads and discs. Get stuck in, sort of. Now the dog can see the rabbit. So what we're going to do is, there's just a big lip on the actual brakes and the pads are more or less worn down to nothing. So we're as well off changing everything together. What I'm going to do first is we've loosened the cap of the reservoir on the engine and we're just going to push these pistons back, turn the wheel, push these pistons back where they're on the car. It's just a lot easier doing it that way, and then we'll whip these off, clean it all off and bang them back off. The easiest thing to do is get an old screwdriver. Now there's a few ways of doing it. You can maybe catch the end of the disc, wedge it in, or you can just use the hammer and use the brake pad material that's there and kind of smash through it. We're changing it anyway, so it really does not make any difference. Whichever way you can get this in, do it. I can't get it in there, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit the old brake material. Now because I'm changing the pads and the discs, I can do it this way. And then just gently push back the piston all the way, and there we go. You don't have to do that way, it's just a lot easier. Right, what we want to do is take off the caliper first. You need a 17 and a 14 mil. And we'll just crack both of them first. Now, once they're cracked, come off nice and easy. Caliper out of the way, so I'll push back, and rather than having it hanging, we'll just support it with this, if it'll go through. Nope, it won't go through, so we'll just hook it from here. And around and up to there. So it's out of our way, it's not going to do any damage. And as you can see, okay, not from that one, so I just dropped it. Now, there's hardly anything left on them pads. That's the damage we did, but like I said, we're changing them so it doesn't really make any bit of difference. Now, you're going to check your pins, make sure your pins slide. We're still going to grease these, but it's always a good idea just to check them, because if they're seized, that could make your brakes wear uneven or not even brake at all on one side. So they are nice and free, but we're going to clean them anyway. Next thing is, on this particular one, we have two Phillips screws on the disc, and it's easier to leave the carrier on to actually take them off first. Now this is a fairly new car, so we might be able to just crack these without, and as you can see we did. But if you can't, get a screwdriver you can actually hit. So this is an old screwdriver, but I can actually hit it. So what you want to do is, if it's really stuck, you can wedge another screwdriver into here to stop it from actually turning. And then get your screwdriver, put it in, hit it, and at the same time twist your hand. And what that'll do is that will loosen it, but this one wasn't bad anyway, but that's the way you would do it. But make sure you wedge your disc with your carrier, because otherwise you won't be able to do it. So that's it. Now what we need to do, take off the carrier. Two bolts at the back, just see what size they are. They're two 17s, so I'll get you in behind here and we'll whip the babies off. Now you can see the two I'm talking about, two 17s. I hope you'll be able to use the old air tools. Now if you're doing these without air tools, crack both of them at the same time. Well, not at the same time, but essentially loosen one and loosen the other before you take it completely off. It just makes your life a lot easier. And there we go, caliper off. So we can clean all this, whip off the disc, bang the new one on. Right, because we don't particularly live in like a really rusty place, this should come off quite easy, but now I said that it won't. Again, I'm replacing the disc, so I don't mind if I'm hitting the disc or anything like that. because if you aren't, don't be hitting your disc. You can kind of hit it here, which is safe. The other thing is you don't want crap in your eyes or anything like that. So if you hit the edge of the disc, there's a lot of rust that could flick up in your eyes. So you want to wear goggles. So, I've got my goggles on. So I'm hitting the hammer. So what I'm going to do first, I'm just going to hit it here. Obviously be careful you don't hit the studs. So you hit the studs, you're in trouble. And there we go, very simple. It comes off. Now again, depending where you live, you might have to kind of clean all this, but as you can see, this is just so clean. I might give it a quick rub, but I mean, I don't need to do anything heavy to these. We just don't live in a rusty place. Now, we'll, I'm gonna get all the new discs and everything prepared, and then we'll bang them on. Sorted. You can also get new hardware here. We don't have that, but again, these aren't bad, so I'm gonna just give these a quick wire brush. I show it on all my videos, so there's no point going into too much detail. I'm gonna take this off like that, but as you can see, look at that, it's absolutely perfect. I'm just gonna put a bit more grease on there. I don't even need to clean that. Check this one. And again, look at that one, absolutely perfect. So all I'm going to do is just put a bit more grease on there, just to give them a little bit. I'm using molly grease. Give that a wire brush, and that's essentially this done. Then we'll get the new pads and discs on, and yeah, sucking diesel. To line them up with your old discs to make sure they're the same, and then kind of put them on the car, just make sure everything lines up the way it should. This is on the wrong way, and I like to put it on the wrong way first, just to make sure it lines up. But not only that, you can see kind of this, like a shiny film that's on the disc. That's to stop it from rusting when it's in storage. And we need to take that off. And brake clean, kind of does what it says on the tin, is the best stuff for the job. So you can take that off nice and easy like that. Hold it in your hand, flip it round. Make sure you line up the two screw holes the right way, which is that way. And there we go, same thing again. Takes all the fingerprints off and absolutely everything. Lovely. Now what we can do is screw these back on. This just holds the disc, it makes it easier for putting everything on, but it's not really the end of the world. Some cars don't have them, so it really isn't the end of the world. Now we can put our freshly cleaned carrier back on. Cleaned it all, re-greased it, ready to go back on. Right, we can put the carrier back on. Same thing again, get both bolts, don't just tighten one, because if you tighten one and this isn't completely in the right place, you're not going to get the other bolt on. Not only that, you can even damage the threads trying to put it on. Then you're going to have to get a new carrier, and it just gets expensive. And for those who watch my channel, we're going to tighten this to a medium to strong grunt. Sorted. So, and there we go. Sorted. Right, we're going to put the pads on now, and this one doesn't have like a traditional kind of wear indicator with a wire that flashes a light on your dash. It has this little metal clip here, and when the pad gets too low, it kind of scrapes across the disc, and it makes a horrible noise, which is telling you, look, you need to get it checked out, let's see what's wrong. That always goes to the back, because the brake pads always seem to wear more at the back. So make sure you don't put two of these on, and when you do the other side, you're not going to have any on. So always put that to the back. Also, don't touch this with your hands, especially get all grease and crap all over it. The copper grease, just going to butter up the corners of them, because as we know, it's better with lube. And the reason why I just butter up the corners is because if you put your hands here or your fingers here, and then you transfer them to the back and you get all grease in the back, you can clean it off, but it's just more hassle. So I like to leave it first, put it on, and then once it's in, like that. There we go. And the other thing is I can kind of hold it like that. If I was to put grease on there, I wouldn't be able to do that. Now we can put grease over the face of it. Same thing again. Slide this in. Doesn't want to go in for some reason, so what's stopping me? Might just need a little nudge. There we go. Didn't hit that hard. If you have to force these in, there's something wrong. Don't force them in. Something's bent, something's catching, there is something wrong. So now we can butter up this side. Unhook the brake caliper, slide it on, and there we go. Lovely. Same thing again, put both bolts in first before you tighten anything, just to make sure that everything is lined up. And there we go. Tighten these up, medium grunt. And there we go. Now what I would suggest is, after you've done everyone, pump your brakes. Because people will forget, they'll do all four, and you'll hop in the car, drive down the road, and you'll have no brakes at all. So every time you've done one brake, just go inside, pump your car, do another one, pump your car, because at least then when you go to test drive it to make sure everything's okay, you're going to have brakes, because believe me, even 5 miles an hour is fast with no brakes. There we go. Now we'll crack on with the back one. Sorted. Now another thing you want to do is just spin this by hand to make sure it's not binding or anything like that. Also the dust guard behind, make sure that is away, because what can happen is when you're taking pads and discs off, you can tend to bend this and it hits the disc and it squeals and it's horrible. So just check all that before you continue. Talk to factory specs. Click, click. Right, we are doing the back now, slightly different to the front. Oh, you can't see me. We have brake shoes on this. We have brake shoes internally in the disc. The caliper doesn't run the handbrakes, the brake shoes do. Now, we're doing the other side, so we know, well, I say we know that they're okay on the other side. This doesn't mean that they're not okay on here. If they are okay, we're not going to touch them, because John, who owns the vehicle, is a tight arse and he doesn't want to do it. And he's looking at me now as I say that. But they look really good on this side, so we're going to check. But if they are bad on this side, you obviously have to do both sides. So there's a slightly different way of taking this disc off. Don't just beat it with a hammer, because you'll break everything internally in it. So we'll whip off the wheel. There's that sledge, John. That's what he normally sounds like. Don't hit it too hard. There we go. Lovely. Right, so as you can see, the back discs are bloody baggered. We have a grommet down here and our adjuster is down here. We'll explain that in a minute. What we do need to do is take off the caliper first. We have the 2 Phillips screws as well, so we want to take them off before we do anything. I think John's just nicked my screwdriver. I've seen in your hand you git.
I didn't nick it. I already the old one.
Can't leave anything down for a second. Where's the hammer gone? God, he's taking everything. Now, we'll whip off these first. There we go. Just makes life easy if we do it now. Now on this, one of the carrier bolts is behind one of the track arms. And you can get to it with a spanner, but it's just a bit time consuming and a stupid design. So whip off the caliper first and then I'll show you the back what I'm talking about. Now I'm struggling a bit with light at the minute, but we're okay until I get you inside and I'll work out the lights. What I want to do is push back the caliper. Now this particular caliper at the back is a push back, it's not a wind back. So we get this chisel in and if we can't, no, I'll just get a screwdriver again. Can't get that in properly. I'll do that. I'll show you another way once it's off what you can do. Very loose, these back caliper bolts. For yours.
Just be talk to that.
Seems very loose.
So we will with the manufacturers.
Let's get this off. It's a tiny, that's why it wouldn't come off. These are welded on.
Well,
These shoes, are these pads? Completely rusted out. And that's why we're changing these on the back, people. There's nothing left.
they're hooked.
That's the technical term for it. We like to be technical on this channel, so you have to use the right words. I'm just going to hang that over there. Check our pins. Our pins are nice and loose, but we're still going to grease them, but at least we can see they're nice and loose. Right, I'm going to get the camera in here with some light and show you what's going on at the back. Right, hopefully you can see this. I'm just struggling to try and get enough light in. I'm trying to hold a light and film and do everything at the same time. We have a 14mm bolt up here, which is holding on the carrier, just here. And we have one inside this arm. So there is a space, and the spanner you need to actually get into it is a dog leg spanner like that. That will actually get into it and allow you to crack the nut. It takes time, but it allows you to get in slowly and like a quarter of a turn at a time and eventually get it off. So I can't really film that because it's going to be boring and slow. But once I get it off, we'll take the carrier off and we'll continue. Down here is a little rubber grommet. You need to remove that for our adjuster. Don't start trying to get this with a hammer, smack it from behind, because all you're going to do is smash every single clip and everything in there. Right at the bottom is an adjuster. I'll show you once I get it off, once I get the pad off. Now, it does depend which side you're on to whether you lift it up or down, but if you get it the wrong way, all that's going to happen is you're going to feel your disc getting tighter, so that's all. So I've gone the wrong way. I just go down till I can't adjust it anymore. That means the shoes are completely away from the disc. Get in the way of the camera there, but so until that doesn't go down anymore, it will reach the bottom. Now we can get the hammer and gently, you don't want to do it hard, just gently. Just make sure you've got it off enough, which we do. Slide that off. There's all the brake crap inside, because there does get a lip inside there. Now, same as the other side, we're actually okay. Let's get the camera in a lot better. You can see they don't look hard, they're not scorn. They've still got the pad colour, they haven't gone black from heat or anything like that. So they're very good. And right under here, you can just see, there we go. Now, you can see the adjuster. As you spin that, it spins out the adjuster, which makes it adjust to your handbrake. And I'll show you how to adjust the handbrake afterwards. And it actually goes through that hole there. That's how you adjust it with your disc. Your disc lines up with that hole there. I'm gonna get the new disc, clean it with brake fluid, put it on, and I'll show you how to adjust that. Right, put the carrier back on, just because it was difficult to film. You couldn't really see what I was doing anyway. And as regards the caliper, to push it back, these things are fantastic. They're just essentially like big pliers. But what they allow you to do is to kind of grab it, get it in there, and it just so nice and easy. And there we go. pushed it back. Wasn't struggling, wasn't doing anything. So that's a way to push back your calipers if you don't want, if you're not changing your pads, you don't want to destroy them, for example. So we can bang this back on, and then all we got to do is just tighten up the handbrake side of this. If you don't get it right, you'll get a horrible vibration in your car, and this can overheat and lock up and cause all sorts of damage. So you don't want that to happen. Now what I'm going to do with this is line this up again, and we're going to tighten this now all the way until it stops. So in other words, all the way to the brake locks. Now that brake is lock solid, which is what you want, and you're slacking it off. It's normally about 1 to 2 notches. What you want to feel is a slight drag, and of course now I can't even turn it off a notch. Now that's a little bit too loose. Oh no, it's not. Right, we can feel a slight drag in that, and that's what you want, because they're going to have to bed into the new discs. And you might find once you've done this, you might have to adjust them in a couple of days or a couple of weeks. But you need that slight drag on it. So then put your grommet back on, put your wheel back on, and you're done. So that's it. No point in me showing you put the wheel back on, it's just a wheel. Just your handbrake. Well, you can play with your handbrake then. Pump your brakes, make sure you've got all that done. Put the cap back on your brake reservoir, and that's it, you're sorted. So look, hope it helps. Thumbs up, subscribe, all that. Don't forget, links up here, links down below, but most importantly, don't forget to get your hands dirty. See you for the next one. Sorted!